Hello and welcome to the virtual gallery tour of the Firefly Artist Gallery at 162 Main Street in Northport. We're currently closed due to the COVID-19 virus, but I'd still like to take you for a short trip through our gallery and share some of the work that our artists have created. Firefly is a collective gallery of more than 30 Long Island artists. The Firefly Gallery was established in 2011 by Kathy Nichols and Kate Sidney. The first artist I'd like to share with you today is Kirk Larson. Kirk is one of Long Island's most collectible and treasured artists. Kirk's landscapes, seascapes, and nautical images grace the walls of many homes throughout the area, globally and in museums. His painting passions are discovering new places, seeing the commonplace with fresh eyes, the water, the environment, and sailing. He's an internationally known plein air painter and one of America's foremost marine artists. Kirk is also a film and TV actor, a mentor, and a motivational speaker. He is an award-winning published writer of short stories, screenplays, essays, and poetry. He's a member of the Salamagundi Club in New York City, among many other prestigious organizations. The next artist I'd like to share with you is Kate Lively. Kate is a writer and a photographer and is one of the managing partners of the Firefly Gallery. Outside of the Firefly Gallery, Kate is the president of Lively and Fitzsimmons Incorporated. She is the founder of the Synchronicity Network newsletter. As an emerging artist, Katie's portraits and landscape photography adorn the walls of homes, offices, and websites throughout the USA and abroad, sharing her view of the beauty and poetry of the world around us. Katie is a Centerport native, and she has lived across Long Island just inside the beaches of Delaware and now resides in Syosset with her family. The next artist I would like to present to you is Karen Lind. This is how she describes her process. I have been using tempera paint to make paper copied from the colors all around, creating a complex palette including hydrangea blues, daylily yellows, rosy reds, and a myriad of greens. Then I choose a subject and I hand cut each flower, each petal, each leaf to create the collages. In them I seek to explore the individual forms, colors, and personalities of each plant as arrangements or as potted plants. Each collage is photographed, then transformed in my computer to create a unique image that is printed on heavyweight Epson cold press fine art paper in editions of 10. Our next artist is Beth Atkinson. She's another one of the managing partners of the Firefly Artists Gallery. Beth considers herself primarily a printmaker, working in etching, woodcut, linoleum, silkscreen, and monotypes, but also works in book arts, collage, and sculpture. Much of the work that she does is influenced by her travels and are reflective of her visual and emotional experiences. Some of her work is extremely realistic and detailed, and other pieces are more abstract, focusing on line and color. Beth has received numerous awards for her work, most recently from the Heckscher Museum of Art. Our next artist is Mary Ahern. Mary has been an artist for eons, exploring, as all true artists do, a myriad of subjects, and with enough mediums that would fill all the drawers and cabinets throughout her studio. She has been zigging and zagging throughout her journey with all the bumps and joyous bursts that she could grab. Some of her work throughout the years has had autobiographical underpinnings, and some of it was icy flat. She's worked big and she's worked small, but when it comes down to it, she just loves color. Our next artist is Steve Caputo. Steve has been observing life since his eyes opened, and for the better part of that time, he's been capturing moments in his photographs like fireflies in a jar. Image maker, Steve's pursuit of beautiful light, panoramic vistas, and mercurial moments has spurred him to create evocative landscape people, and abstract exposures. Recent work includes the release of his latest book, Images, Wit, Words, The Art and Science of Punography, a collective of visual puns, dad jokes, and happy accidents that occur when a photograph and its title come into focus at the same time. Our next artist is Chuck Lembo, and while he successfully operates his own architectural firm, he's always been interested in photography. Chuck explores black and white infrared photography and is fascinated with how the variations in lighting affects various elements, making the pictures look more dramatic and intense. He spends most of his time taking pictures of architecture or landscapes, and occasionally candid shots of his 7-year-old daughter when she lets him. Susan Gaddy is a multidisciplinary artist whose works include oil and acrylic paintings, filmmaking, and most recently figure sculpting. Her paintings are interesting studies of native New York environments ranging from local Long Island beaches to the hustle of New York City. No matter the subject, Gaddy's work is all about fleeting patterns of light, color, and movement, each telling a different story. Our next artist is Kate Sidney. Kate, along with Kathy Nichols, were the 2 founding members of the Firefly Artists Gallery. Kate Sidney is an alchemist of timeless designs with a modern edge and a natural feel. She employs striking gemstones and precious metals in each one of her one-of-a-kind creations. Kate takes Mother Nature's gifts and concocts wearable vessels, which are reflections of the staggering beauty of our planet. Here's what Kate says about her work. I create pieces that I infuse my heart and being into. I carefully select each gemstone and think about how I want to showcase the magic it possesses just by being itself. I want my clients to feel like the best version of themselves when they're wearing my designs. Like the glow from the gems might seep into their body and light up their spirit. You can find so many more pieces of Kate Sidney's jewelry at kate-sidney-jewelry.myshopify.com. Most of her pieces are online. You can see them there. Most recently, Kate has been working with the Grow More Foundation. Grow More is a science-based nonprofit organization working on solving the world's food insecurity problems. They promote the responsible use of science, biotechnological innovation in agriculture, and provide an open dialogue on what connects us and brings us all to the table: food. Check out some of Kate's beautiful pieces at the gallery as well. The sales of all of these beautiful pieces of jewelry go to the nonprofit Grow More Foundation. Our next artist is Darnell Tasker. The magic of being alive is a big influence on Darnell's work. She creates whimsical and idealized fairy tale worlds full of characters who share their wisdoms and raw emotions. She finds the balance between light and dark in her work. Her use of negative space is a reflection of lessons learned in meditation. The idea of simply just being. Empty space for Darnell is a symbol of calmness and endless possibilities. Our next artist is Penny Strong. People ask her, "How do you approach your work?" And she'll say, "You have to love what you're working on. Whether it's the color or the composition, you have to start with love." Our next artist is Drigo Morin. He's another one of the managing partners of the Firefly Gallery. Drigo received his BFA in illustration from the School of Visual Arts in New York City. An oil painter of still life and portraits, he has been concentrating on landscapes the last few years. Drigo recently said, "I don't think you have to go far to find a beautiful passage in nature. Literally look out your front door. How I interpret that in paint will naturally change and evolve with time and ability. I'm looking forward to see where it goes." The next artist that we have is Jim Dorsey. Jim was born in Ipswich, Massachusetts. He grew up in Rockport and Gloucester an area rich in tradition in both fishing and art on the North Shore of Massachusetts. The rugged coast and fishing industry would influence many of the topics that he chooses to capture in both his paintings and printing. Jim is a painter, but he also concentrates in the graphic arts and etchings. The art of plate etching and stone lithography is becoming a lost art due to the increased use of computer imaging. It brings him joy and fulfillment to share his printmaking with others and keep the old ways and traditions alive. Our next artist is Karen Schaefers. Karen grew up in Germany and studied painting and sculpture in Europe and the US. Her frequent travels have provided her with an unending source of subject matter. She describes her paintings as usually very romantic. The greatest influence on her style has come from the French and American Impressionists. Right next to Karen is Anne Fox. Anne Fox is a retired flight attendant who has lived in Spain and Germany for many years. She currently resides in Northport. Anne works mostly in paper collage, but she also works in oil. She says that moving bits of paper around a flat surface is much like sculpting. She adds that after cutting up hundreds of bits of paper and not being able to stand the paper cuts anymore, she'll switch to doing an oil painting. As you walk around the Firefly Gallery, there are so many different things to see. On a regular day, you would have seen our artists sitting and having conversations. We have paintings, we have drawings, we have jewelry, ceramics, we have all sorts of different gift items. This is some of the pottery work by Pam Smith, and the stained glass work is by an artist, Debbie Granger. Michelle Lesser does some of this beautiful found object jewelry. We have locally made t-shirts by Rudy's Tees and handbags made from old record albums by Michelle Schrader. Drigo Morin just finished this piece during the COVID-19 quarantine. And here's a lino cut by Beth Atkinson, hand-colored, and the title is Eaton's Neck. There really is so much to see at the Firefly Artists Gallery. From necklaces to candles to ceramics. There's something for everyone. This is some of the pottery that Pam Smith does. Pam is the owner of Clay Daisy Pottery. Pam has found a way to combine her love of painting with pottery and underglazes to create functional pieces with one-of-a-kind whimsical designs. Our next artist is Steve Vincent. Steve is a self-taught painter and frequently paints images of nautical scenes as well as imaginative scenes from nature. We have a few pieces by Mary Stay as well, and all of the work that Mary sells goes to support wounded veterans. Our next artist is Marilyn Barker. Marilyn is a self-taught acrylic artist, crafter, and sometimes poet. You can always find Marilyn's work in the gallery because it's so bright and colorful and full of whimsy. Marilyn says that her aim as a painter is to add a bit of humor or the unexpected to whatever she creates. Our next artist is Helen Murdoch Prep. Helen is a native Long Islander and a theater educator, artist, cartoonist, actress, and writer. Besides doing these incredible watercolors, Helen is also an accomplished calligrapher and teaches calligraphy and calligraffiti online. Helen has also written and published 4 books. If you'd like to see more of her work, you can check her out on Instagram and Redbubble, and all of her books are available on Amazon. Helen shares her wall with Jan Guarino, one of the new artists to the Firefly Gallery. Jan is an accomplished watercolor artist. Jan chooses her subjects as much as they seem to choose her. Her intention is always to create an unexpected depiction of the subject, a colorful interpretation, not a literal translation. During the quarantine, Jan has been teaching her watercolor techniques online. You can check her work out at janguarinofineart.com. Hugh McElroy is another one of our ceramic artists. He has been involved in the area of clay for over 20 years, and during that time he has worked with wood-burning kilns, high fire, raku, and salt. He prefers to work within the environment and use nature as his guiding force. Right next to Hugh McElroy is Catherine Olson. Catherine is a lifelong resident of Long Island and currently lives in East Northport, where she works out of her home studio. Catherine is primarily a self-taught artist and works in oils and watercolors in a style that is mainly impressionistic. Her subject matter is varied: seascapes, landscapes, and still life. However, her focus has always been simply to paint. She is grateful to live a life in art, to express herself and the world around her with colors that beautify her world. Art and art history have been of intense interest to Catherine throughout her life, in particular the Impressionistic era, with its focus on color and light. It continues to be a daily source of influence and inspiration for her art. Catherine Olson shares a wall with her friend, Kathy Hammerquist. Kathy Hammerquist grew up in Huntington in a very creative family. Her father was an illustrator for the Saturday Evening Post. She paints primarily in acrylic, mostly landscapes and seascapes of local scenes. She greatly admires the Hudson River painters and has tried to emulate some of their techniques in her work. Heading over to the other side of the gallery, let's take a look at the work of Robin K. Horn of Clay Vista Studio. Robin creates handmade tile and decorations for the home. Her pieces are inspired by nature's many delicate patterns. Some works have imprinted organic material artfully arranged and then embellished with layers of glazes. Besides the work that Robin does in clay, she's also an accomplished watercolor artist. This year, Robin introduced her new series of watercolor paintings featuring seashore and botanical themes. You can always visit Robin's work at www.clayvista.com. Next to Robin is the work of photographer Laura Atkinson. Laura was born and raised in rural Kansas. She has a degree in science and her profession is in intensive care nursing, but her passion is photography and the visual arts. Moving frequently around the country and the world since the age of 22 has helped her discover that, for her, the most powerful form of communication was photography. Laura's work has been displayed nationally, on mass-produced commercial products, and in juried fine art exhibitions. Next to Laura is the work of Joanne Coretti. Joanne is a Long Island artist who has won numerous awards for her paintings of land and seascapes, lighthouses, and historic villages. Her paintings reflect the beauty of Long Island. Joanne's specialty is commissioned home and garden portraits, with close to 500 homes rendered across Long Island and out of state. Her commissions also include cars, boats, and paintings of people's favorite places. You can find more of Joanne's work at www.joannecoretti.com. Our next artist is photographer John Lazzaro. John is a documentary filmmaker and documentary photographer with over 15 years of experience, respectively. He is fascinated by storytelling and visual design. In his approach to photography, Lazaro draws upon his experiences from documentary filmmaking in order to create a realistic visual and thought-provoking dialogue. Lazaro's latest work, The Walls Still Talk, is a photo essay book documenting the history of the Kings Park Psychiatric Center in Kings Park, New York. If you'd like to take a look at John's other work, you could visit him at burningmeta.com. Our next artist is Mary Broderson. Mary is forever exploring new places, processes, and ideas. A storyteller at heart, her work rarely involves just one subject or medium, but rather weave a complex, thought-provoking experience. Everything excites Mary Broderson: printing, painting, textiles, mosaics, ceramics, and now woodcut. And Mary says, "I don't make art because I think it's what might sell in a gallery. I make what inspires me." Right next to Mary is Katie Atkinson. Katie is an artist and an art educator born and raised in Northport, New York. This large-scale, limited edition, woodcut print of the Annapolis Lighthouse was part of the Big Ink event that was held at the Firefly Gallery last spring. The work hanging above Katie's is the work of artist Cliff Potenza. Cliff splits his time between New York and Florida. Cliff is primarily a landscape and seascape painter. Many of his paintings are originals, but he also has some available as limited edition G clays. Our next artist is photographer Jennifer Lau, another one of the managing partners of the Firefly Gallery. Jen began her career as a graphic designer. Her portfolio includes subjects such as landscapes, racehorses, vintage cars, and portrait photography. Jen has had numerous exhibitions of her own personal work, and several of her images have appeared in the 2009 and 2010 Northport calendars. You can find more of Jen's work at jenniferlauphotography.com. We also carry some work of Mary Jane Caldwell. Her most recent work has been the use of digital photography. And here's another piece by artist Joanne Coretti. We've had to rearrange a lot of the things in the gallery in order to put as many of our beautiful pieces in the window as we possibly can, so that as people are walking down the street, they can stop and take a look and see what we have to offer. If you happen to be walking down the street in Northport, make sure you take a peek in our windows. Here's another one of our artists, Wendy Anderson. Pottery has been a passion of Wendy's for well over 30 years. Here's what Wendy has to say about her work. Being an artist, I enjoy producing functional ware and artistic vessels that take shape from a simple lump of clay thrown on a wheel. Adding texture and glazes to complete the form can be fun yet challenging because so much of the end result depends on the firing in the kiln. When a piece comes out of the kiln even better than I had hoped, I always feel so elated, yet pleasantly surprised. In the center of our gallery, we have a display that includes the work of a number of very talented Long Island craftspeople. Jan Tazo is one of our glass artists. Here you'll see some of her beautiful vessels that she makes from sheets of glass. There are so many wonderful gift items that are displayed in this area. You'll see more work by Jan Tazo, and then some work by some of our other artists like Michelle Miroff. Among the many things that Michelle Miroff makes are these wonderful felted animals. Michelle is an accomplished fiber artist, and you'll find many of her beautiful items displayed throughout the gallery in different locations. Here's some more of Michelle's work, her felted acorns and beautiful teacups and jewelry boxes. Mary Ahern has a wonderful selection of her floral greeting cards. And as we come around to the other side of our display, you'll find some of these hand-bound journals made by Beth Atkinson and some of Mary Broderson's fused glass jewelry, some other fused glass pieces by Beth Atkinson, here's some more of Wendy Anderson's work, and a glass piece by Jan Tazo. Here's some more glass pieces by Jan Tazo. And now we're heading back to the middle part of the gallery, where we have some of the work by one of our new young artists, Allison Mack. Allison is a recent graduate from the Fashion Institute of Technology, where she studied jewelry design. Her whimsical designs have been influenced by nature. Her pieces range from minimalistic to elegant designs, and many designs take on a vintage look or even a mystical feel. Every inch of our gallery is covered with beautiful pieces of art. It's always a new adventure coming into the Firefly Artists Gallery. There's always something new to look at. This section of the gallery is where we keep some of the extra pieces of work of all of our different artists. As soon as something sells on our main walls, we'll replace it with one of these other pieces that we keep in reserve in the back. And last but not least, I would like to share with you an exhibit that we had up for the month of March. This is the work of artist John Rafferty. John was the winner of our Winter Wall juried art competition. The paintings in this series, Rest in Peace, are motivated by John's long-held fascination with the unexpected color and textures found in rust and corrosion. I'd like to thank you in joining me on this virtual tour of the Firefly Gallery artists. You can always contact us at 631-651-5545. If you're interested in purchasing any of the pieces that you've seen in today's video, or are interested in any of the other artists, please give us a call. We're available to ship pieces to you as well as for curbside pickup.